46% of every single Google search that's done is done seeking local information. And if you're not optimized for that, if you're not showing up, then you're clearly going to be losing patients to somebody else. They fail to create content that has that local intent that's very specific. And they really just don't optimize their websites for mobile devices. So you have to actually create location-specific content for each individual location.
Hey ho, we have breaking market lead news here, guys. We're going to be talking about SEO, search engine optimization, specifically for multi-location dental practices. Now, this is very different than regular kind of SEO for a single location practice. And if you've been treating it for the same and, really hitting your head against the wall, this episode is exactly for you, and you're not alone. Now, what we have for you is our resident SEO expert, Kelsey Halverson, in the house. Now, real quick, if you guys don't know who we are, we're Marketly Digital, and we offer strategic growth for established and multi-location dental practices. We help them find their dream patients and scale predictably using omni-channel marketing and systems. Now, Kelsey's been with us for 12, 13 years plus, doing this specifically, search engine optimization for dental practices. And let me tell you, this man, he has seen it all. He's seen the beginning of Google. He sees how AI is impacting things. We've tested things. We've tried things. And yes, including SEO for multi-location practices. And so today we have a special treat. We're going to be giving you exactly what's working in 2025 and how it differs from, just regular type of SEO that maybe you're used to. So let's jump straight in, Kels. With what you've been seeing over the past couple years, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see multi-locations or these small DSOs making when it comes to their SEO?
So it seems like there's really like 5 or 6 mistakes, and they just keep happening over and over and over. The biggest one that I see is neglecting local SEO. They have multi-locations. Sometimes they're very close to each other. Sometimes they could be across, multiple states, but they don't really focus on that aspect of things. They fail to create content that has that local intent that's very specific. And they really just don't optimize their websites for mobile devices. And those are kind of the biggest things. And it might be due to budget. It could just be like oversight, but those kind of common mistakes or errors, it weaves its way through any DSO that we've worked with, as well as multi-location practices.
Yeah. So, why is it so different? Marketing a single practice versus these DSOs or multi-location practices?
It's a great question. At the very core, SEO is SEO, right? So it really shouldn't be that different. But SEO from multi-location practices, whether it's a DSO or just a single mom and pop practice that has multiple locations, it's a lot more granular. You have to really kind of get down into the weeds and focus on optimizing each individual location for those search terms, which also goes more into depth. I mentioned, kind of content before, right? So you have to actually create location-specific content for each individual location. You could even go further. There's a little bit of, noise or back and forth on whether or not using different domains or subdomains, right? Whether you have the city dot the brand name and then get really granular going into the local content. And that is where the big difference is. You have more than just one physical location to optimize for and to worry about.
Right. And you said something in there. You said location driven content. What is that?
So location driven content, obviously you want to have everything to do, with the city, with the location. What's, maybe it's family dentist near a specific neighborhood in that area. It could be dentist near me, dentist in this city. But then you can also go further, and this is where a lot of multi-location practices just don't do it. They don't hit the nail on the head, is creating video content as well, right? Going in that extra step and starting to be more granular in creating content that's going to appeal to a patient that's in this location versus maybe a demographic of a patient that's in another location that you also have an office. You can't rely on just one piece of content. You have to create multiple aspects of it.
Okay, so creating content, whether that's text or video for those locations, should do you think most practices should be as granular as neighborhoods? You mentioned neighborhoods or just cities, or does it depend?
It depends on obviously how dense it is there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're looking at their demographics, looking at how many people, what's the saturation in that area. Because if you want to attract a wider audience, then you could serve a geographical area by creating, custom service pages for each individual neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a more of a rural setting, then it doesn't make as much sense because you're going to have that draw just naturally. So it really depends on where the offices are located and kind of what is the custom avatar that they're going after.
Quick question, a little bit more technical. Have you seen like dynamic keyword insertion or things like that still playing a role in 2025?
Not so much for organic content. I mean, for paid, absolutely. The organic keyword insertion is probably one of the top ways to cover multiple different phrases. Um, but yeah, for organic content, not so much.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm a DSO, a small growing DSO, and I have all of these different locations, let's say 10, 15 plus, should I be worried about competing against myself?
It can be. That's where it goes. So working with some of these DSOs that we've looked at and creating their strategies, right? We've gone in with them. They're like, "Oh, I've got a website and
Mm-hmm.
I've got 10 locations." Well, that's great. But having just one set of service pages for all of those locations, especially if they are kind of nearby, right? If they're only maybe 5 miles, 10 miles apart, then you could be competing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that local intent comes into play. So you want to make sure, obviously, that your Google business profile is optimized
Mm-hmm.
for that specific location. Making sure your NAP information, your name, address, phone number is again kind of synchronized across the digital universe, so to speak, for all of that would obviously make sense as well because you want someone that is in that specific community or that specific city to be able to find the closest practice to them, not having to compete with or have that overlap of multiple offices.
Okay, so each practice should have their own GBP, right?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
And how can you kind of blend? So let's say I have these multi locations, and a lot of these DSOs, they all have the same brand. Each location is the same brand. If I have that, how should I treat my website and with these different GBP profiles? Like how could I keep that organized?
So ideally, the Google Business Profile should link directly to the landing page for that location. So it
Okay,
shouldn't just go to the home page
right.
of the website. It should go directly to that location. So say you have one, in downtown Seattle, and then you have another one in Kirkland, you have another one in Muckletale. You
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to have that location in the Google Business Profile linked directly to that landing page. And then ideally, each of those locations are also going to have service pages that are tied in and optimized for that specific location.
Wow, Muckle T, you've definitely done some SEO in the Seattle area. That's funny. So kind of coming down to the point, like action items that the audience can take away from this. What would be the one or two most impactful things that a DSO could start doing right now to their SEO without trying to go completely back to the drawing board and overhauling everything?
So the number one thing that they could do that's going to result in more patients immediately is focus on local SEO.
Mm-hmm.
There's over 1.2 million searches every single month for dentists near me. So not
Wow.
even necessarily a specific community or city, just dentists near me. And if you're not optimized for that, if you're not showing up, then you're clearly going to be losing patients to somebody else that
Yeah,
is.
of
So that
course.
would be the number one thing. The second thing is that nearly half of all Google searches done, 46% of every single Google search that's done is done seeking local information.
Mm-hmm.
So really, again, honing into how is that content written, what's being portrayed, what's being said, because that's going to captivate your searcher's interest.
Yeah, I didn't know it was almost 50%, right? And that makes perfect sense to me, right? If my intent is looking for something that's local in my area, if I see those words, those terms, those phrases that I'm kind of expecting to see, it makes sense that that would attract my eye for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So if I'm wanting to improve this, right? You mentioned a couple ways that I can start getting straight to this. How would I be able to measure my progress or measure if I'm actually ranking for these local terms or doing good locally?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple different platforms, right? There's different types of software. We use one software is called Local Falcon, and we use it not only just for research, but also for strategizing. So along with those, 1.2 million searches for dentist near me,
Mm,
there's also the different variations of that. It could be the best cosmetic dentist near me, dental implant dentist near me, right? All those different variations that you also want to capitalize on.
right.
So, what we do when we're creating a strategy is we look at the core of a 5 to 7 mile radius. And again, it depends on how much saturation is around the practice,
Mm-hmm.
on how far out we want to be able to optimize for. And then we'll look at your individual ranking in that grid, which is all color coded. So you can see if you're in the top 1 to 3, it's going to be green. And then as you kind of radiate out from your practice, you'll notice that things go yellow, they go red. And those are those key areas that we want to focus on. And we use that internally, of course, but any DSO or any multi location practice can track their progress by using the initial scan and then comparing it, each week or every 2 weeks to where they're currently ranked.
Yeah, awesome. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, Kelsey. This episode has been absolutely value packed and really actionable. I think that's amazing. And if anyone watching, if you have any questions, if this kind of sparked any questions, throw them down in the comments. We read every single comment, and we would love to answer them, let you know what's going on. Because we have been doing this for the past, 25 years. SEO is one major piece. One other factor is if you're running paid ads, click the next video that we have linked. It's very interesting. It goes into how your paid ad strategy can tie into the local strategy that Kelsey was just talking about, so that you're not just burning money on clicks, and your paid ads are also generating high intent potential new patients. So check that out if you're serious about growth. Peace out from Marketly. All right. Well, we have a fun episode for you today, especially if you're owner of multi-location practice, right? We know how hard it is to even manage one practice, but when you're juggling 5 or even 50, the complexity just goes through the roof. So today, me and Dimitri are going to be speaking on, kind of how marketing differs when it comes to multi-location practices, and really what marketing channels are the most effective.